What's up, everyone? It's the Conservative Christian coming back at you guys with another video. Sorry about that. My hair just looks a little messy and I just kind of realized that. Anyway, so this is like my third take on this video, because it's really hard for me to talk about certain things without keeping it short, and I think that is just because of the mindset that I have. I like to thoroughly explain things. That's just how I do things. So I intended to post this video 2 days ago, but trying to edit it and keep it short wasn't really in the works. So I think what I'm just going to do is I'm going to make this kind of like a mini series, I guess, and I'm going to essentially just start by giving the premise and the example that I was thinking of, an analogy of something that happened to me a couple of days ago that I thought of. And then from there, I will just continue making videos that kind of either break down certain concepts or talk about other things that are involved in this. So this is going to be a series called Why Good Isn't Good Enough, as you can probably tell by the title of the video. And this little mini series is essentially going to kind of address a few of the arguments that I've heard atheists mention when we're talking about the Bible. Now, it's from us. Obviously, I know that there are some atheists out there who just don't believe, but they still use these arguments. So, for the sake of, if you're one of those atheists, these arguments that I'm going to be bringing up are going to be, because I understand that sometimes the atheist comes with the mindset of this is a problem for your worldview, not mine, or just for the sake of conversation. So I'm going to be addressing those topics from that kind of standpoint. And then I know that there's also some atheists out there who are maybe unsure, who are actually looking for questions. So I'm going to be speaking from your perspective in the hypothetical, or from a conversational standpoint. Obviously, I think that God exists. I mean, that's obviously my position, but I'm going to be tackling, the arguments. So why good is not good enough is essentially going to be, I'm going to be covering the topic of certain atheists who argue, well, I used to be a Christian and now I'm not, and so if I did what the Bible said, then I'm good. Why I've heard some atheists argue, like, why would good God send good people to hell? Why even just like, why is God a bloodthirsty God? Why is it that my good works, like, if there is a God and I'm just not sure, and I'll probably never be sure, won't God reward me for at least using my brain and seeking answers? I'll also be addressing the argument of some. This was more along. I haven't really heard this argument that much anymore ever since Christopher Hitchens died, but it might still be floating around. There might still be some people who still believe this. So there's an argument too that I've heard that some people argue that Jesus coming and dying for our sins was immoral. What else is there? And I'm going to kind of be going through the story of Adam and Eve with this parallel that I have, this analogy this real thing that happened that I've made that I'm able to use as a parallel or an analogy, whatever you want to call it. And then if I missed anything else, I'm sorry. I will just talk about them. But I'm going to just start this video off, just to keep it short, by just giving you the analogy, and then I'm going to give you an analogy that might be a little more personal to you, just to give you guys something to start thinking about while I make the next video, and then we're going to kind of break things down. So the analogy is, so I have a cat, and for people who aren't knowledgeable with cats, which I really wasn't either when I first got mine, mine's a male. So the problem with male cats is that if you don't have them neutered before they start learning how to mark, which is basically what it's called spraying or marking, basically where they pee around because they're becoming territorial. it's very hard to get them to stop. Now, for those of you who've never owned a cat, I cannot describe to you just how potent the smell of cat piss is. Even after you use bleach and cleaning supplies and all that stuff to take care of the initial problem, the smell still remains for about a week or two, sometimes maybe just a little bit longer. So I've had issues with my cats. I've had issues with my cat in the past. He's marked a lot, and I mean, one thing that I have noticed is that he generally tends to do that for one of two reasons. Either his litter box isn't, I guess, clean enough, which he's very, very picky about that, which I understand that some cats are, but also if there are other cats around. I've noticed with my cat, it usually seems to be it usually tends to be more along the lines of things just not being clean enough, or I mean, cats being around, because every place I've lived and I've noticed that there's been cats around, stray cats or whatever. So now, because of what my cat has done, I've had no other option but to essentially remove him. I've disciplined him. I'm sure he knows he's not supposed to do this. You can see it in his face when he's getting disciplined, but he won't stop. And I'm getting sick and tired, and the wife is getting sick and tired of the smell and having to constantly clean up after him and the mess. So when I'm not home or when I'm sleeping, because he will do this while I'm sleeping, even if I am in the same room as he is, he will still mark. So what I've had to do is that I've had to essentially, if I'm not home and I'm not able to supervise him, he lives outside. Now, something that I've noticed with my cat that he's done is when he's been kicked outside, he'll sometimes try and bring me gifts. He'll try to bring me dead birds or groundhogs or whatever the case may be. And so this is just kind of the framework of the analogy that I'm just gonna leave it at, and then I'll break it down in the following videos. But I also want to give you guys a personal example to think about, because there are going to be some elements that tie in with my last video of the Christian fallacy that are involved in this. And so let me just go ahead and give the more personal example for you to also start thinking about, just kind of start chewing on, and then in the next video we'll address the first topic. So I want you to try your hardest to just really imagine and really think about, just try and put yourself in, use your imagination, someone that you really love or care about. And if you're more introverted like I am and you don't really have a whole lot of close friends or whatever the case may be, maybe just something that's of great value to you. It could be an expensive item, whatever. Just try to emotionally attach yourself to something that you really care about or someone that you really care about. Now, I want you to imagine that somebody, if it's a person that you're thinking of, I want you to just really imagine that this person was either murdered or raped in cold blood. And if it's an object, I want you to imagine someone just coming out of the blue with the set intention of breaking your item. Now let's go a little bit further here. So the damage has been done, and now this person is trying to make up for their mistake by if you lost a person, if this is involving a person that you care about, I want you to imagine that this person is trying to give you gifts to make up for what they did. And if it's an item that they broke, I want you to try to imagine them trying to do something for you, not to pay for it, but just like maybe offering to buy you food, or things like small things like that. I want you to imagine that this is the approach that this person took to try to reconcile what they did. Is it enough? Well, I think if most people are being honest, the answer is no. Now, I want you to chew on this Bible verse. I'm going to end this video here because I got to get going. There's a verse in the Bible that says, I'm going to try and post it in the video here if I can, but there's a verse in the Bible that says that all of our good works are like filthy rags. those rags, from what I understand, have actually been equated to the menstrual period blood rags that were used to clean up after menstruation. Now, this is an analogy that the Bible uses to give an illustration as to how and why our attempts to reconcile our damage that we've done this is what it looks like to God. And so I gotta get going, but so to wrap this up, I want you to start thinking about those examples, and I want you to start kind of, I guess, maybe thinking about this idea of why good isn't good enough, because this is going to be the focal point of this entire little mini sermon. So think about that, and we'll talk more in the next video. And until next time, guys, this is the Conservative Christian signing out.